the next fantasy thing we're going to move into is Lamar Jackson. And that's because, Dave, I watched a video today on ESPN, and it was Field Yates and Matthew Berry kind of talking about Lamar Jackson this year. And Field Yates said something that hit with me, where he goes, if you drafted Lamar Jackson at the beginning of the year, you were drafting him to be the best fantasy quarterback, if not the second best behind Patty Mahomes. Like, you drafted him to be your top quarterback. Like, that's how coveted he was in early rounds. Yes. This year, Lamar Jackson on NFL is ranked 13th out of quarterbacks. And his last three, like, he's had good games like Philly and Washington. He had the 28-27, even against Cleveland, week 1, 27. But, like, Pittsburgh, only 14.4 or 14.8.
18 well, yeah.
The Chiefs, 14.1. Even Houston, 17.5, to where it's kind of bringing up the question of, if you're a fantasy owner that has Lamar Jackson, is it time to worry? And how much worry are you having as we're entering this part of the season?
I can tell you in about 5 seconds. The Ravens schedule.
Oh, the next 4 are tough, Dave. They've got the Colts.
Hell no.
Colts,
Patriots play tough. Titans play tough.
Yeah.
Steelers play them tough. So yeah, the next 4 weeks, he's not. If you're a 10 deep league, no. If you're a 12 deep league, yeah, I would probably start him if you're 12 deep. Like, you might not have the option. Some guys might be rostering 2 quarterbacks because of the buys this year. So, like, be aware of that. Yeah. So 10 deep, there's probably a better option out there for you. Matchup wise, don't think about like name value. You have to drop that. You have to just look at, are they facing the Cowboys? Well, they're due to have a pretty good game. You know, like, shit like that matters a lot this year, rather than Lamar is not guaranteed to win you games. So yeah, the next 4 weeks are going to be very tough. 5 weeks, actually. No, 4. It's 4 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, them and
next 4 weeks, you go Cowboys, Browns, Jags, Giants, Bengals. So, like, if you make the playoffs, Lamar Jackson, that boy should be rolling. And again, I think this offense this year hasn't ever really found its groove.
Yep. You're right.
We talked about how the Chiefs completely neutralized Lamar Jackson, how the Steelers took some of that and kind of brought it into their own fold on the defensive end and were able to do similar things. So I think there is more film. There is a template out there. It's just, do you have the personnel to execute against him? And then will they realize that they have an incredible weapon out there in Hollywood Brown?
Well, I mean, it's not even just Hollywood. It's so
Mark Andrews is great. Yes.
Well, no. Like, so last year it was, because I've got the stats in front of me. Last year you looked at it, and there's 2 big differences that I see. Is the first one's Mark Ingram, where I know you're saying, well, if Mark Ingram's running the ball, that's not getting Lamar Jackson points. But see, it is. And the reason why it is Mark Ingram last year had over 1,000 yards. He was reliable. I know. I had him in fantasy. Like, he was one of the steals I had in a fantasy league because I came in, traded like a coveted top 2 draft pick for him, and I think it was him and Kareem Hunt. And I fucking stole it. Like, I basically stole the entire league until I, like, lost in the playoffs because my team didn't show up 1 week out of the whole year. But, like, he's not there. He's been injured this year. He's not even going to play this week, I don't think. And then receiving-wise is, yes, Hollywood Brown is their their wide receiver weapon. But, like, last year, Mark Andrews had more targets. He was more of the tight end. Plus, Lamar Jackson in himself had more rushing yards. Like, that's the thing that I think, like, he's only got 400 yards this year on the ground compared to over 1,000 last year.
But again, we are at the halfway points. Like, he should be at, what, 500 on the ground compared to where he, like, true. So he's maybe 100 yards off this year. And I think does that maybe, you got to think what Mark Ingram rushing did. You start to feed up that defense as the game goes on. Guys get a little less excited to just jam in there and try to tackle guys because they're beaten down.
Yeah,
like that offensive line was pushing all the time. They had one of the better rushing offensive lines in the league because they could get that push going up front. So not having someone like Ingram out there to help bruise Hurts. But also, I think their play calling has been suspect this year. And not just because I'm a Hollywood Brown fanboy, but I am. But because it's just like you have these weapons and you have someone who is as dynamic of a playmaker as Lamar Jackson is. Now, if he's not getting the opportunities to play action, roll out, like play action is the bread and butter of what makes Lamar Jackson a dynamic threat. Because
with the read option as well.
Yeah, read option, same thing. No matter which way you pick, you lose. It's putting the defense on their heels, and that's what they need to go back to. That's this team's flaw right now is they have been play calling poorly, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's why it confuses me because, like, I know Mark Ingram, the point you brought up of them bruising, like basically with him running up the middle, being that bruising back.
Yeah, I mean, it's
guys
like Derrick Henry games. Early on,
done.
2 yards of carry, 3 yards of carry. By the fourth quarter, he's gashing you for like 7. It hurts.
The other thing, though, is then this is the part that confuses me. If it's like read option and stuff like that helps Lamar, you have fucking J.K. Dobbins. Like, you could run play action with those guys and read options. It's like, who are we going to cover, J.K. or Lamar? Pick your poison. Which one do you want to kill him?
Breakout game, in theory, this past week. So
yeah, I just, like, all season that's confused me. It's like,
no, that's
Mark Ingram's out.
They have equal or better personnel than they had last year. What's changed? And that's the question they have to ask themselves.
Yeah.
Why are they having less success this year moving the ball than they did last year? And I think it's the play calling's changed. They try to get a little cute with some things, and they're not leaning into their strengths. Maybe they're trying to prove a point that Lamar Jackson can throw better. He's more accurate, whatever it is. Whatever
quarterbacks throw, they don't run, Dave.
Well, that's you mentioned the rushing yards, 100 rushing yards less through 8 games. I'm guessing, based off the total from last year you gave me. So you have to just make that assumption. That's okay. Why? What has led us to that point? And for me, I look at play calling. So it's not unfixable. They still have good personnel. They still have the ability to make things happen. And my boy Des Bryant, hopefully in a week or two, is going to be on the main roster, right? Because he signed a practice squad. I'm hoping he gets brought up because he's in game shape in a week or two and can play some football again, which would be great. If not, come over to the Bears. We fucking need you. What'd you look it up?
6, 7, 8. So through 8 games last year, do I know how many yards he had through 8 games last year?
Many.
637. That included 3 games. Week 2 against the Cardinals, we're at 120. The October 13th game where he ran for 152 on the Bengals. And then the week after where he ran for 116 on the Seahawks. So if we're looking at the pace of last year, he's literally like 200 yards behind his pace.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like, and that's the thing where it's like JD even said in Twitch chat, he's like, I was banking on him to be the best, ... And like, if you keep track of the MVP league, JD has not had a very good year this year. To where it's like, I did find it funny though, JD, when you were like, I'm throwing in the towel, this season's done. And then you fucking blew out your opponent that next week. So you just got to have that mindset. The towel's in, I'm done. Your team will play better. But yeah, this is, if I was a Lamar Jackson owner, I would almost be pivoting to where it's like, all right, I'm playing matchups the rest of the year because I can't rely on
not rest of the year. 4 weeks.
Okay.
Because at week 5, Cowboys, Browns.
Okay, good point. But even you're still playing the matchup. Like, I'm not saying drop Lamar, but it's like if someone has a better matchup than him, go with the other option.
Up until, for the next 4 weeks, if you got matchup wins, take the matchup wins. Because,
Dave, I'm sorry. Half the time it's like, all right, who are the Cowboys playing? Even if they're playing Washington, fuck it, I'm going to start Washington.
They have not.
It's either whoever the Jets are playing, whoever the Cowboys are playing. But I would say the Cowboys are the worst defense out of the both of them.
Yeah, the Jets actually held up a fight against the Bills, which is a whole other question. But yeah.
Picks, that's going to be a different story because I have a story right there.
Let's get to the boys.